So I just wanted to do kind of a quick little update video. I've been receiving a lot of questions since the election about if I regret my walkaway, if I regret leaving the Democratic Party and doing so much with walkaway throughout the past year. And of course, the supposition to this is always, well, Carlin, Donald Trump lost. Don't you regret that giant waste of time? And ha 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 ha, he was always going to lose anyway. And you know, here's the thing. First off, I don't know that he lost yet. I think that if anyone can come back from an impossible situation, it is actually Donald Trump in real life. But regardless of what ends up happening, whether Trump gets inaugurated in January or Biden gets inaugurated in January, people who think that my walkaway journey was ever about Donald Trump have completely missed the point. They've completely missed the point. It was never about Donald Trump. It was never about one person. In fact, when I started doing the walkaway rallies back in, when did we even start that? Like June or July? They were Rescue America rallies. It was because I was pissed off about the lockdown. I still am pissed off about the lockdowns and all of the extraordinary measures the government has taken place to restrict our fundamental liberties. That was why I originally started doing those rallies. I mean, and I walked away from the left because the Democratic Party has lost their mind. Whether or not Donald Trump won an election has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not the Democratic Party lost their mind and went down all of these woke, anti-racist pathways to try to control the American people and to set themselves up to be the ones in power. And I said from the very beginning, I actually, even not even the beginning of the year, I said from the end of last year, listen, 2020 was supposed to be my best year ever for my business. I had already, by the time 2019 ended, I had already built out enough business in 2020 where anything else that I acquired in 2020 in terms of business was going to be gravy. It was going to be a phenomenal year. And what I kept telling people was, I will never forgive the Democratic Party if they destroy the economy in order to win an election. And my position on that has absolutely, fundamentally not changed. And yes, I do primarily blame the Democratic Party for trying to destroy our economy through these ongoing lockdowns, these unconstitutional orders that I just think are absolutely crazy. These mass mandates that have made absolutely no difference if you look at the spikes in the cities that are most impacted by these unconstitutional lockdowns and mandates. This entire thing makes no sense. And none of that has to do with Donald Trump. It was funny because over the course of the, I don't even know how many rallies, like 15 some odd rallies that I did with Brandon and Walkaway this past year, there came a time, and I think it was like halfway through, where Brandon said to me one day, he was like, Carlin, are you becoming a Trump supporter? Because I really wasn't. I was going to vote for Donald Trump. My original decision to vote for Donald Trump, which came after it was clear that the Democrats had anointed Joe Biden to be their nominee, not elected, because I do not believe he fairly won that primary process. I think that was a whole coordinated effort, but anointed. My decision to vote for Donald Trump at that point was a vote against the Democrats. It was not a vote for Donald Trump. Now, I didn't hate Donald Trump at that point. I thought that he was fine. I didn't think he was as bad as people said he was, but I was like not thrilled about the situation. I really became a Trump supporter when he banned critical race theory from the federal government and from federal government contractors, because that was one of the things that drove me away from the left in the first place. It was not only that I watched them destroy the economy and destroy major American cities, and are still to this day, along with Republicans that have forgotten that they're actually Republicans, Chris Sununu in New Hampshire. The level that they have taken this to is absolutely absurd. So it was part that, and it was also part the critical race theory stuff that I had seen absolutely getting infused into everything, and these woke SJW cancel mobs that were always coming from the left. And then on top of that, you pile on Antifa and you pile on Black Lives Matter, and that was what drove me away from the left. It wasn't because I was the biggest fan of Donald Trump. That came later. And so, from my perspective, do I regret my walkaway from the Democratic Party? No. I don't regret 1 second of this. There's nothing to regret. regardless, the Democrats are still crazy. They're still crazy. Now, what I think is particularly funny about this whole scenario is that now let's be honest for a second. There's a spectrum of crazy in the Democratic Party. The moderates, the centrists, the people who kind of like were me, the people that maybe, I don't even know if anyone's ever really excited to vote for Joe Biden, but probably more excited to vote for Joe Biden. They're less overall crazy than the extreme left with the progressives. The extreme left and the progressives and I'm going to say it because they call them themselves the democratic socialists, the socialists, even getting into the communists. Like, those are the ones that really terrify me. The moderate centrist Democrats don't scare me as much. And what I think is so funny about what's going on right now is it has started to dawn on the progressives that Joe Biden doesn't give two flips about them. He doesn't give two flips. Like, Black Lives Matter can't even get a meeting with him. He hasn't appointed any progressive nominees to cabinet level positions at this point that we know of. I mean, it's absolutely, and the progressives are starting to say, really get pissed off about this. And I think it's hilarious. This is what happens. And I am so incredibly happy to not be any part of the Democratic Party because they're going to eat itself. Now, like, when I look at the right now, they're kind of eating themselves too, if I'm honest. And you know what? As of this point, I thought about becoming a Republican before. I may still do that because I may still run for office. And I think I need to be a Republican if I'm going to run for office. But at this point, I'm kind of sitting in the middle and I'm looking at both sides and I'm like, you know, it's funny. On election day, the walkaway team was in Florida and we went grocery shopping because Mikey Harlow was going to cook us dinner. And, you know, we were all wearing our walkaway gear in the supermarket and someone came up to one of the walkaway team members and said, "Oh, what is walkaway?" And Nick Miles, at Real Nick Miles on Twitter, he said, you know, walkaway is just about walking away from political extremism on both the left and the right. And I actually thought it was funny that he included the right in there because usually how it's framed is walkaway is about walking away from the Democratic Party, which is very, very true. But I also think it is actually fair to say that I don't think many of us feel like we really have a lot in common with the extremism on the right either. I think we're like sensible people who just want people to have like who discuss ideas, to be practical, to really think about things that can work in the real world, to not be cruel to each other. I really think that's kind of the hallmark of what I see in Walkaway. You know, Brandon says all the time, Walkaway is a journey, it's not a destination. No one who walks away from the Democratic Party and is part of this movement is required to join the Republicans. No one was ever required to be a Trump supporter. A lot of people are, but you don't have to be, and that's okay too. And what I've learned in, you know, traveling across the country and meeting so many people who've been so inspired by this movement is the walkaway movement is bigger than one election. It is bigger than one political party. It is a movement of people who just want sanity back in politics again, and they want help for average, everyday working people, not for corporations, not for the wealthy, which is who the Democratic Party primarily serves. And they certainly don't want any of this woke, anti-racist nonsense that has no foundational basis in reality, based on any research, and has infused itself into absolutely everything. And you know, these are people that I think are defenders of freedom and liberty and our fundamental values and what makes this country great. And so how could I ever regret being a part of that? No, I don't regret one single second of it. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Again, regardless of what happens with this election, walkaway was never about one election. It was never, I don't think Brandon ever created it with that idea. And we have so much more work left to do because I think that there are so many people who need to wake up. I see them on Facebook all the time. Like these people who they think they know what's going on because they watch CNN when in fact they have no idea. And they talk to me like here's the thing. It's like they talk to me like I'm the stupid one. Dude, you have no idea what you're talking about. I feel like I'm a crazy person half the time. These people who like watch CNN all day or they read the New York Times and the Washington Post and they think they know what's going on in the world. And they really don't realize that the real enemy are not Republicans. The real enemy is never about Republicans or Trump supporters. The real enemy is the media. The media that lies to us and tries to control us and I mean, and the scariest part of this election for me is that the media has learned exactly what they need to do to get the candidate that they want. The media has had so much influence over this election. It is terrifying when you consider how little actual journalism they did throughout the course of the election. They certainly didn't ask Joe Biden any hard questions. They didn't report on any of the stories that we all know were true. All this Hunter Biden stuff, we knew about this before the election, and it was actively censored on Twitter. It was actively censored on Facebook. We have the Project Veritas tapes from CNN telling us emphatically that CNN made the proactive decision not to talk about any of this. The real enemy they're not the people. They're not the people on either side. They're not your friends. They're not your family members. It is the media at the end of the day. And that is a hill I will die on, fighting back against these people that are lying to you every single day, that have made it, that are only interested in keeping the American people divided. That's all they're interested in. Listen, this is the walkaway is so much of a bigger picture. It's a bigger picture than one election. So I could never regret it. I am so incredibly blessed to be, one of the people that got to travel around with Brandon and his team. I seriously, I can't believe my good luck. I mean, I never would have expected this to happen. And I just love every single one of them. I mean, Brandon, let me tell you this. Brandon Strzok is amazing. He really is. He's one of the hardest workers you're ever going to meet in your life. He is incredibly smart. He's incredibly insightful. I have so much respect and admiration for him. Shamika Michelle, oh my God, we call her the walkaway goddess. Like, Shamika is who I hope to be when I grow up. I don't know how she does it. I mean, Mikey and I just watch her in awe. Every single time we see her speak at a rally, we watch her with absolute awe and admiration because she's so good. She's so good. And Mikey is so smart. He's so smart. And he's so creative. And he needs to make more YouTube videos, Mikey. But he's just one of the absolute best people I know. And everyone on the walkaway team, these are people that are committed to what this is. This is a movement of patriots. And it's almost funny because I've called this the Bad News Bears. I feel like we're this little ragtag group that came together. And this is kind of how I feel every time I see the audience at one of our rallies. It's it's the most diverse, unexpected group of people that you will ever imagine in your life. And they're all such good people, and they all believe in this country and what this country stands for. And I guess I'll close it by saying this. Walkaway helped me to remember that I really do love this country. It helped me to remember, listen, I remember when I was a teenager, I'm 13, 14 years old. I desperately wanted to go to law school and become a civil rights attorney because I wanted to defend the First Amendment and free speech in this country. I loved reading about the founding of this country and what the founders stood for, and just this whole idea of one of the reasons I did not like the Republicans in the 1990s is because I felt like they were constantly going after the First Amendment, which is something that I really value more than anything. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. That is my issue, and it has been my entire life. And I forgot about that for a really long time. And Walkaway reminded me of that. It reminded me of how important it is to stand up for yourself and what you believe in. And I think one of the most humbling things about this journey is I know that in going and doing these rallies and in speaking up, I've inspired so many of you to do the same. And that's incredibly humbling. And it's a lesson for you too. You've always got to stand up and speak up for yourself and what you believe in. And every time you speak up for yourself, you will inspire others to do it too. And that's important. So I could never, ever, ever regret this journey. I'm going to keep going in 2021. And, no matter what happens, it doesn't matter because there's a much, much, much bigger picture. Never let anyone, by the way, like this whole idea of if Trump loses, oh, we're defeated, the country's over. Come on, man. Stop. There are so many bigger battles left to fight. And even if Trump loses, do you really think he's going anywhere? I don't. If he loses, it's going to be a sign that he was supposed to do something else. I truly believe every time I tell you guys that everything works out and there's a bigger plan than we have access to, if Trump loses, it's because he's going to be more effective doing something else. Imagine if he buys CNN or Newsmax or OAN and creates his own news channel. That actually, if we can acknowledge the impact that the media had on this election in terms of lying to the American people, and Fox News, now you're at the top of that list, buddy. You like they're good people on Fox, but I think we all know how we feel about them. We need another perspective in the news. Trump is in a position to provide that. So maybe there is a bigger plan and he can have much more impact not being in the White House than in it. And I truly believe that everything works out for a reason. And you know what? It's going to work out. And so no, I don't regret it. Not one single minute. I don't regret the friends I've lost. I don't regret the family I've lost. They're small-minded people that do not see the bigger picture. And if you're going to turn your back on someone over politics, then they're not a person that's worth having in your life in the first place. So yeah, that's my little update. I'm not stopping anytime soon, guys. If that wasn't clear already, I'm not stopping anytime soon. I love this. I love what I'm doing now. And yeah, let's keep going.